Trump is now planning on deporting people to Libya. Libya, where the State Department says you should not go to Libya because of, quote, crime, terrorism, unexploded landmines, civil unrest, kidnapping, and armed conflict.
Did you know Libya has the best oil in the world? They call it sweet oil. And I think they're sending them there to work in oil fields.
You know, Miller wants to punish people, right? That's why we had this, tear children away from their mothers plan. Now it's, grab some, Mexican working in a restaurant and ship him off to North Africa where he goes into a hellhole prison that people never escape from. And these prisons do use slave labor. They turn their prisoners into slaves. So America's moral collapse is not hypothetical. It's on a plane to Libya. And I mean, good God, America stands at a moral precipice, and we're about to fall over the edge. The Trump administration, well, first of all, let me lay this out. Libya, you remember Libya, Muammar Gaddafi and all that, and President Obama had him assassinated, and that caused the whole country to just be thrown back to the Stone Age essentially for a while. And what came out of this is that there are now two Libyas. There's the Libya that is recognized by the United Nations, that's based in the country's capital, Tripoli, which is the official Libyan government. And that controls I believe it's the west side of the country. I may have that wrong, so fact check me on that. But they control half the country anyway. The other half of the country is controlled by a warlord. His name is Khalifa Haftar. And Khalifa Haftar's son appears to be good friends with the Trump family. In fact, he came over to the United States last week and met with Tiffany Trump's father-in-law, who is now Trump's special envoy to the Middle East. This is the guy who had claimed that he was a billionaire with a trucking empire, and it turned out after Tiffany married his son, thinking she was marrying a billionaire's son, turned out that he just owned a truck, not even a trucking company. But anyway, he's the envoy to the Middle East with a nice big paycheck, and so the Libyan warlord's son came over to hang out with him last week, and now Trump is talking about shipping our immigrants in the United States that he doesn't want here, shipping them to Libya, where none of them came from. Which raises, it raises a couple of questions. I think the main question is, why are we putting immigrants in prison at all? Right? If somebody comes here from Mexico or Guatemala or Honduras or Venezuela or wherever and enters the country illegally, or in the case of apparently most of these people that Trump is having arrested and kicked out, they actually show up at the border and present themselves and say, I'm here to apply for asylum, and we let them in and say, okay, cool, we'll give you a court date. I mean, that's what international and federal law requires. So the vast majority of the people that Trump has been deporting actually have the legal right to be here in the United States. It's temporary, and Trump is repealing it left and right. But most of them, when they were snatched, had no idea that they had lost that right, and many of them continue to have that right. So why are we putting them in prison? I mean, why not, if somebody's here from Guatemala and they're here illegally and we've decided that we're just not going to let them stay, why not just put them on a plane to Guatemala? Why send them to a prison in El Salvador? Why send them, why, for God's sake, why send them to Libya? I mean, Amnesty International, and here's the answer why, I think. I think this is why Trump is doing this. Amnesty International has documented, and I quote, severe beatings, sexual violence, extortion, forced labor, and inhumane conditions in these Libyan prisons that are controlled by this Libyan warlord. I mean, this is not even a government that is like even remotely obligated to comply with UN, this, that, and the other thing. And our own government, the State Department, the United States State Department, says that Libyans' detention centers are harsh and life-threatening, with migrants having no access to courts or due process. Doctors Without Borders has documented female detainees being told that if they want food, they have to give sex to the prison guards and, quote, you are going to die here. They're also running slave labor, forced labor. They're taking these people, the warlord is taking the people who are in his prisons and having them work as slaves. So this is what Hank Johnson, a Democratic congressman from Georgia, told Raw Story. He said, it's deeply distressing and disturbing that there would be a time in this country where we would find the worst places to deport people to instead of places where they came from, their homelands. Not sending them back there, but sending them to the worst location we could send them to just to punish them. Well, this is what I think is really going on, is what we are seeing is Stephen Miller, who apparently hates people of color. And make no mistake about it, they're not deporting illegal immigrants from Ireland or from Sweden or Norway or Scotland. They're deporting illegal immigrants from countries where most of the people have brown skin or black skin. And so, remember Trump's first term? Let's tear the babies away from their mothers. It'll shock the conscience of the world. It'll horrify people to the point that they won't come here anymore. The theory that they are operating under is the same theory that the proponents of the death penalty operate under, which is if you can make something so frightening, so terrible, so horror-filled, which is what the death chambers are, it will deter people from committing crimes. Now, what's wrong with that is that there's nearly 100 years worth of research proving that the death penalty does not deter murder. It doesn't stop people from killing other people. Similarly, doing this, I think, is probably not going to deter people from trying to get into the United States. They'll just figure out different ways to do it. I mean, it may stop some people, but this is the worst possible way to do this. I mean, yes, come to this country and we'll ship you to a Libyan prison. Really? I mean, this strategy doesn't just harm migrants. This corrupts the soul of America. It transforms us from a nation, despite our many failings, that at least aspires to the goals of dignity and justice, into one that purposefully inflicts violence and suffering as policy, that is using slavery and rape as policy. Joe Biden would say, this is not who we are. And I think they're absolutely right. So let's just cut the crap. Trump's and Miller's policy of mass deportation and now, I would say criminal mass deportation is not about safety or security. It's about punishment, deterrence, and performative cruelty for political gain, the same way dictators around the world run their countries. Oh, you stand up to Maduro, or you stand up to Putin, or you stand up to Orban, you go to jail. Well, these kind of things don't, they start with the immigrants, they don't end with the immigrants. Hitler started with the immigrants. I mean, seriously. It doesn't end with the immigrants. Eventually, they come for us. So we need to wake the hell up. We need to break through the normalization of this cruelty. We need to support the legal challenges that are underway. And let me add, the ACLU is at the forefront of much of this. I send them money every month. I encourage everybody else to. Third, keep this issue visible. And fourth, demand transparency. What the hell is going on here? And call your congressperson. 202-224-3121 is their phone number. Tell them America doesn't torture people to send a message. Tell them we're better than this. Because if we aren't, what exactly is it that we're defending here in the land of the free?